Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm gonna be doing a tier ranking of all the comic book movies that have come out for the past 3 years, for the 2020s so far. Out of all of the superhero movies I have seen that have come out in the 20s so far, I'm going to be doing a tier ranking of all of them. There have been 22, and there's one I have not seen yet, but I've seen all the others. And I thought this would be a pretty good idea because there have been some comic book movies that have been mediocre. There have been some that have been really great, and there's been some that's been absolute garbage. But I thought this would be a pretty cool idea, though. So, yeah. Yeah, because there's been some I've really liked for the past couple years, and then there's been some I just thought were mediocre. There's been a lot that I just thought were just mediocre, but yeah, I thought this was a good idea. So yeah, let's get started. And the New Mutants, I did not watch the New Mutants. That's the only superhero movie on this tier maker that I have not seen. I never had any desire to see the New Mutants. I haven't had any. I didn't even see Dark Phoenix either. I thought Logan was the perfect ending to the X-Men movies. Like, there did not need to be any more movies. Logan was the perfect ending. And, yeah, the New Mutants doesn't even really look like an X-Men movie. Like, it's not even set in the X-Men universe. I mean, it is, but, like, doesn't seem that way because Professor X is... I don't even think Professor X is in it. I don't even know anything about it. It's like, well, it's called literally the New Mutants, so it has to be... They're literally New Mutants, and so... Yeah, I have no interest in watching this movie. It got bad reviews, and I skipped it. It came out during the pandemic, and I just never had any desire to watch it, so... Yeah. So, New Mutants. No interest. Probably will never watch it. I mean, maybe I might, but I don't think I will. Possibly I will. Who knows? I watch a lot of movies. And so for the S tier, I'm going to put Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse right here. Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse was an epic masterpiece. This movie was awesome. It was my favorite animated movie I've seen. This movie was just awesome. The animation was just outstanding. The atmosphere was amazing. The animation was just beautiful. And it was a very unexpectedly dark sequel, too. Like, the first one was more of, like, a fun, more kid-friendly movie, like, for, like, the little kids. This one was more, like, a very dark movie. Like, honestly, I wouldn't have... I know this movie was PG, but I honestly would not have been surprised if this movie was PG-13. Because it honestly was, like, probably one of the darkest animated movies I've seen. This one was a pretty unexpectedly dark sequel. But it was so awesome. I really loved it. The animation was great, and it surprisingly outshined No Way Home. I didn't think it would be as good as No Way Home, and it was. And yeah, Across the Spider-Verse was a solid masterpiece. And then I'm going to put Spider-Man No Way Home right here. Yep, Spider-Man No Way Home was also really great. Two Spider-Man movies that are my favorite superhero movies of the 20s so far. These movies are so great. Spider-Man No Way Home is my favorite live-action Spider-Man movie. But again, I didn't think Across the Spider-Verse would beat it, and surprisingly it did. And yeah, this movie was so awesome. Spider-Man No Way Home was awesome. It was great to see all the old Spider-Men back and an epic crossover with all the villains and the old Spider-Men. It's like, this Spider-Man movie had everything I ever wanted. It's like, you all know I love Spider-Man No Way Home. What more is there to be said? Had great action scenes. The effects and CGI were great, and the visuals were great too, and the story and the musical score, and the acting too. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, they're all so good together. And nearly 2 years later, it's still hard to believe that they had an epic crossover with all the villains and all three of the Spider-Men. It was hard to believe that they all put that in one Spider-Man movie. It was so awesome. Just had a lot of nostalgia. You all know it. Everyone, if you know my channel, you know I love Spider-Man No Way Home. It's one of my favorite movies. Definitely one of my favorite superhero movies, and is my second favorite superhero movie of the 20s. And then I'm going to put The Batman right here. Yeah, The Batman was also a great movie as well. Robert Pattinson was so awesome in this movie. And Robert Pattinson was so great as Batman. I wasn't quite fond of his Bruce Wayne, but he nailed it as Batman. He was so awesome in this movie. The action scenes were awesome as well. Paul Dano was so awesome as the Riddler. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, a.k.a. Selena Kyle, was great. And Colin Farrell as the Penguin. This movie was awesome. It had a really good cast. And it was a solid movie. I really liked The Batman a lot. This movie was a masterpiece. One of the best movies of the 20s so far. This movie was so awesome. And, yeah, I loved Spider-Man. I loved The Batman. Yeah, I was just talking about two Spider-Man movies, and now I'm talking about Batman. So, yeah, The Batman was a great movie. Loved it. And then Justice League the Snyder Cut would be right here. Yep, Justice League the Snyder Cut is so awesome. You know, I really liked the musical score in this movie was great. The visuals were great. The action scenes were killer, and the effects were great, and the acting. Cyborg shines in this movie. This movie probably is one of the best musical scores in movie history. This movie was absolutely just the musical score is amazing. This movie is really great. The characters were so much better than with the way they were in the original. Like the way they were in the original. Like before this movie came out, I was like expecting it to be like a C tier, maybe bottom B tier, top C tier. But no, this movie was surprisingly really awesome. When I saw the reviews, I was like really surprised, you know. But yeah, this movie was incredible. The only few gripes I have with it, like the only problems I have with it, is that there's a little too much slow motion, and it's a little bit longer than it needed to, like a lot longer, like a half hour longer than it needed to be. And the CGI was mostly good. I really liked, most of all, the CGI was good. There were a couple scenes where the CGI was just, like, okay. Like, there were a couple scenes where the CGI was just, deep, like, meh. But, most of all, the CGI was good. It was much better CGI than the 2017 movie. And Steppenwolf was a much better CGI villain than the way he was in the 2017 movie. And Darkseid, he's one of the best DC villains. And so, most of all, the CGI was good. Maybe there were a couple scenes where the CGI was just, like, meh. But most of all, the CGI was good. And the action was great. And, yeah, I do like this movie a lot, despite it having a few little flaws, but I still love Justice League the Snyder Cut. It was a really, really great movie. Surprisingly, a really great movie. And so, yeah, Justice League the Snyder Cut, one of the best superhero movies I've seen. And my fourth favorite superhero movie of the 20s. And then I'm going to put Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was also really great as well. I really liked Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I had a fun time with this movie. I liked it got very dark and hard to watch at times. It got kind of sad too, but it was a really good movie. And this movie was really good. And it was also funny at times as well. I would say this movie's right in the middle of the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. It's like the first one is my favorite, and then the third one, is right in the middle, and the second one's the bottom. I still love the second one though. All three of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are great. I had a really good time with this movie, and I was honestly, this was the very, very first of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies to have its very first F word. Open the fucking door! That scene was hilarious. And, yeah, this movie was awesome. This was a damn good movie. I really liked it a lot. And so, yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was a good movie. I liked it a lot. And then I'm gonna put... I'll put Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings right here. Yeah, I really liked Shang-Chi a lot. I liked the action scenes and the visuals were great, and the scenes with the atmosphere was great in this movie too, and the effects with the rings was really great, and the martial arts scenes were great too. This movie had good. I really liked the atmosphere in this movie, and it had great effects too, and I liked the CGI as well. And yeah, Shang-Chi was a really great movie. It's one of the few better Marvel movies that have come out the past few years because I haven't been the biggest fan of Phase 4. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Shang-Chi, and Spider-Man No Way Home were one of the better, more recent Marvel movies because a lot of them have not been that. There have been a few that have not been that great, but this is one of the better ones. And so, yeah, I really liked Shang-Chi. It had really great action scenes, and yeah, really great movie. And then Black Panther Wakanda Forever would be right here. Yeah, Black Panther Wakanda Forever was really great as well. I liked as again, this is also one of the better the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies out of all the MCU movies that have come out the past few years. They haven't been that great, but this one, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Shang-Chi and Spider-Man No Way Home, those four are definitely one of the better ones that have come out the past 4 years. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been going in waves. It's there have been some movies the past few years that have not been that great. They're starting to do a little better again. They're starting to get back because for the past few their past few movies have not been that great, but they're starting to come back. I hope they continue making good movies. I hope they start to get the hang of making more good movies again. But yeah, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was a good movie. Definitely one of the more recent, definitely one of the better, more recent MCU movies. And yeah, I had a fun time with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Though it was a very sad movie. It was very sad because the whole thing with Chadwick Boseman. Very sad movie, and yeah, I remember I cried a bit in the theater. I was so sad. I remember. Oh my god. But I really liked Shuri as the new Black Panther in this movie. She was a badass, and yeah, this was a damn good movie. I had a lot of fun with this movie, and so yeah, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was great. Loved it, and I really like Namor as well as kind of an anti-hero. Also kind of an anti-hero and kind of a villain too. He's kind of both anti-hero and a villain. I really like Namor a lot in this movie as the villain of the movie. I really like him a lot. He's definitely one of the best villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Out of all he was a really good MCU villain. I really like this movie a lot. Kind of an MCU villain / anti-hero. Yeah. Black Panther Wakanda Forever was a good movie. It was sad, though. And then I'm going to put... I'll probably put The Suicide Squad right here. Yeah, The Suicide Squad was a pretty good movie. I liked The Suicide Squad quite a bit. I liked... I did like... I thought it had good... some good action scenes, and I like the characters like Bloodshot, King Shark, and Harley Quinn, and it, honestly, I liked the voice of Sylvester Stallone to voice King Shark. He was a really good voice to play King Shark. He was a good cast member to voice King Shark, and yeah, I like this movie a lot. It was a really I don't love it. It was way better than the first Suicide Squad, but I don't love the Suicide Squad, but I have a good time. I had a good time with it when I first saw it. And I did not see it in theaters, though. I watched it, on Max, on HBO Max, and, yeah, I liked it quite a bit. I didn't really like that Starfish character, though. I thought that was kind of lame, but, this movie was not... I didn't love this movie, but I had a fine time with it. I thought it looked good because James Gunn directed it, and he did a good job with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and so, yeah. I really liked the Suicide Squad quite a bit, and so, yeah. And then Blue Beetle. I'm gonna put that right here. Actually, I'll put that right in the middle. Yeah, Blue Beetle was actually... I liked Blue Beetle, actually. I didn't really have any desire to see this, but then I saw the trailer. I'm like, oh yeah, Blue Beetle might look pretty good. Because I don't really know much about Blue Beetle. I knew him from Batman the Brave and the Bold. I used to watch that show as a kid. When I grew up with that show. And I liked Batman the Brave and the Bold, and I liked Blue Beetle as a sidekick in that show. And so I didn't really know much about Blue Beetle otherwise, and so I had an open mind in watching this, and I saw the trailer, and I'm like, it's actually good. And I saw the movie, I was like, yeah, this was a good movie, I liked it. I liked the effects and the action scenes. Had really good action scenes, and really great effects, and yeah, Blue Beetle was a good movie, I liked it. It was a fun movie, and so, yeah. It's definitely... it was definitely... I had a fun time with this movie a lot. I don't know if it's still in theaters, but I saw it twice in theaters, and I really liked it. And yeah, it's a good movie, and it still is in theaters actually. And so yeah. And then I'm gonna put I'll put for the C tier. I'm gonna put Black Widow right here. Yeah, Black Widow, I thought was Black Widow was a decent movie. I didn't think Black Widow was I didn't love Black Widow, but I had a fine time with it. Like but like it's just, I would say it's top the C tier out of all the MCU movies that have come out for the past few years. This one, there's been some that I really liked. As those four I mentioned, like Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and SpiderMan No Way Home. Those four I've really liked. Black Widow's like right in the middle of some that I have thought were just like, not so great, and then some that were good. Black Widow's right in the middle. I don't think it's a bad movie, but it's just, I don't love it. I just thought it was like not super memorable. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the villain in this movie, but I did like the origin story of Black Widow. Like, I liked the backstory and the, like the first hour and a half or so, the first hour and a half was pretty good, but it's just, it did have some good action scenes, and Black Widow was not bad. Black Widow was a decent movie. And so, yeah. And then I'm gonna put, I forgot to put Venom Let There Be Carnage right here. I'm gonna put that right in the B tier. Yeah, Venom Let There Be Carnage I also did enjoy. I know a lot of people don't like the Venom movies. I do enjoy the Venom movies. I enjoy them. I don't love them, but I liked Venom Let There Be Carnage even more than the first one. I liked Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy, aka Carnage. He was really great in this movie. And Tom Hardy was so great as Venom. The action scenes were great. And yeah, this movie was actually pretty good. I enjoyed Venom Let There Be Carnage. I had a good time with it. Like, I liked Carnage in the movie, and I liked Venom, and yeah, I really liked this movie a lot. It had a good story. I know, I don't love it, but I had a good time with it. So, yeah. Okay, now I'm gonna put, I'll probably have to put, I'm gonna put Birds of Prey right here. Yeah. Birds of Prey, I thought was decent. I liked Harley Quinn in the movie, though at times she got a little annoying, but that's her shtick. But Birds of Prey was not bad. It was definitely a lot better than Suicide Squad. And I like the story of it, but it's just, the pacing was kind of fast, and it's just, this movie was not super memorable, and so I don't really have much to say. I watched this movie a few years ago when I was rewatching all the DC movies for, when the Snyder Cut came out, and so I don't really remember much about this movie. All I remember is, like, I did like Harley Quinn in the movie, but it's just, this wasn't a very memorable movie, so yeah. And then I'm gonna put, I'll have to put, God, I'll have to put, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness right here. Yeah, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was, this movie had a lot of stuff happening in this movie. There was too much shit happening in this movie. It's like, there was just, like, too much. The pacing was really fast. I mean, the pacing was, like, way too fast. It was, like, underwhelming. There was just too much happening. But I will say, it did have some good effects and some good action scenes. I liked it when I saw it in theaters for the second time. I watched it in 3D the second time I saw it. But then I was watching parts of it again. It was just, I was like looking back at it, because I saw it twice in theaters, and I was looking back at it, those two times I saw it in theaters. I was like, you know what, I actually wasn't a big fan of it. I liked it those 2 times I saw it in theaters. That's why I wanted to see it again. And so I saw it again, and I wasn't a big fan of it. I wasn't a big fan of it after thinking about watching it twice, and so, yeah. Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness was just very underwhelming. There was just too much happening in this movie, so, yeah, wasn't a fan of it. And then I'm gonna put The Flash. I did also see The Flash in theaters twice. The more I look back, the more I watch parts of it online, it's like the CGI was just... I remember even seeing it in theaters. I did not like the CGI, and so I didn't like the CGI, and so the CGI was just like a mess, and so like that scene where he runs back in time where his face just stretches, that was cringy, and or that scene where... I did like the running effects scene, though, when he was saving the babies. But the babies, however, like, the babies just looked like dolls. It's like, that was cringy. But I did like the running effects scene, though. Like, the slow-motion running scenes were pretty cool. Like, the CGI slow-motion running scenes were cool. But all in all, the CGI was just... I didn't like the CGI. There was just, it just looked kind of cringy. And the pacing was fast. It was very underwhelming. But I really loved seeing Michael Keaton's return as Batman. Now, that was the best part of the entire movie. And I liked seeing Wonder Woman's cameo in this movie as well. That was actually very... I was actually very excited when I got goosebumps watching her in the movie, because I did not expect her to be in the movie. And so, yeah. The Flash was an alright movie. I mean, I did have good story, though, and some good action scenes. But the CGI was just a mess. The CGI wasn't very good, and so, yeah. But some of the effects were good, but mainly the CGI was just, did not like the CGI, so, yeah. And then I will put, I'm gonna put Thor: Love and Thunder right here. Yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder I just thought was just, like, okay. I remember I do like Gore, brilliantly played by Christian Bale. Christian Bale is so good in this movie. He's one of the best villains in the Gore the God Butcher is one of the best MCU villains. Christian Bale is so good in this movie. He's, like, the best part. And otherwise, most of all, I wasn't a big fan of this movie. Though my favorite part was that part where you see Thor and Gore, they meet on this black and white planet, where you see this black and white scene. And that was definitely my favorite part. But all in all, I just didn't really like this movie. I remember liking it the first time I saw it only because of Gore and some of the action scenes. But I did like the action scenes and some of the... I liked that first scene with him and with Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy when they played Welcome to the Jungle. That part gave me the chills. But, this movie did have some good scenes and some good action scenes, but most of all, I just didn't really care for this movie. And so, yeah. I didn't like Korg in this movie. He was annoying. Like, he was just narrating too much. It was annoying, so, yeah. And then I'm going to put Black Adam right here. Yeah, I saw Black Adam when it came out last year, and this movie was very forgettable. I mean, I did like Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam, but he did a good job as Dwayne. As I thought Dwayne the Rock Johnson did a good job, a good performance as Black Adam. But all in all, I just didn't really care for this movie. It was just very. I mean, it had some good action scenes, and just this movie was a forgettable movie. Honestly, I saw it last year. I'm kind of like just this. I don't really remember this movie that well, to be honest. This movie was forgettable. And so, yeah. And then Shazam! Fury of Gods. I watched this movie about a couple months ago. I did it. I watched it, and I talked about it in my tier ranking of the DC Extended Universe movies. This movie was actually just a very unnecessary sequel. Because I do like the first Shazam a lot, actually. I thought the first Shazam was a pretty good movie. I didn't really like this Shazam movie. I just thought, like, there was just too much. Like, I just didn't really like the story, and some of the CGI scenes weren't that great, but yeah, this movie was just kind of forgettable, and so, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. So, yeah. And then I'm gonna put Wonder Woman 1984 right here. Yeah, Wonder Woman 1984 was also just... I was bored by this movie. I wanted to really like this movie a lot, but I was really bored by this movie. And the action... It had a couple good action scenes. And it had some good scenes in the movie, but, like, this movie was just boring. Like, I was really bored by this movie. I saw it at a drive-in when I should have just watched it on HBO Max, because that way I would have just watched it for free. But I really wanted to see this movie on a big screen, and so... I did, but I didn't like it. I really didn't like this movie. I was really bored by it, and so there was just... It was definitely one of the most boring superhero movies I've seen. I was bored by it, so... Yeah, I saw it a few years ago, and I just kind of blocked it out, and so... Yeah. And then I'm going to put Eternals right here. Yep. Eternals was a very boring movie. I saw Eternals nearly 2 years ago, and I was really bored by Eternals. This was definitely one of the most boring superhero movies. Definitely by far the most boring MCU movie. This movie was very boring. And so, I mean, it did have really good cinematography, but it had good cinematography and some good action scenes, and the volcano scene was great, but all in all, I just didn't really care for this movie. It was really boring, so yeah, this movie was boring. But good cinematography. Alright, and then I'm going to put Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Yeah, this movie was also very, like, oh god. Eternals was more boring. This movie is more irritating. Like, that scene, they used MODOK, but they brought back Derek, and they used Derek's face as MODOK. Like, I thought that was just so cringy. That's not the way MODOK looks in the comics. Like, I know MODOK is kind of a silly-looking character, but, like, he made him look so ugly looking by putting Derek's face in MODOK. Like, they should have just made MODOK look the way he was in the comics. And so, like, they don't show a human face in him, and so, yeah, that was just really cringy. He's like a combination of Humpty Dumpty and Mr. Electric and Shark Boy and Lava Girl. And I just thought, like, I didn't really like the effects either, and the aliens. I didn't really like the aliens in this movie either, and so, yeah, this movie was just, like, very forgettable, and, yeah, wasn't a fan of it. But the most unforgettable and bearable thing was just putting MODOK in this movie and showing Derek's face in this movie. That was just so cringy. And so, yeah. And then Morbius is definitely the lowest out of all 21 of the superhero movies I've seen. Of all the comic book movies I've seen, Morbius is the lowest. This movie was just awful, one of the worst superhero movies by far, and I thought the pacing was terrible, the story was terrible. I just thought this was this movie was just shit. It was so awful, and I couldn't stand this movie. Probably one of the worst movies of the 2020s. I couldn't stand this movie, and so, yeah, did not like Morbius at all.
So yeah, that was my list. That was my tier ranking of all the comic book movies that have come out in the 20s. So yeah, in the comment section below, please tell me, did you agree with this list? If did you agree with this tier ranking? If not, what's your favorite out of all the superhero movies that have come out in the 20s? Out of all so far of all the superhero movies that have come out in the 20s, let me know down in the comment section below. Comment below, let me know. And if you like this, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like. All right, later.